Hello to all and welcome to G100 Network. Today, a very special day, a day that we gather phenomenal women, a cycle of influencers with different expertise within a virtual platform out from institutions. And we call it WINS, expertise. And it's not a coincidence that for addressing what is the challenge of getting into sustainable communities, of changing codes, or recovering what is ethics and values, we are calling these 6 wins. First of all, Her Excellency Rosalía Arteaga, this leader on political leadership. Welcome, Rosalía.
Thank you very much, Mar, and congratulations for organizing this event to talk about these sustainable communities, in my case, through education. And I want to say hello to all the distinguished guests that are here, and we are sharing this panel. I'm absolutely sure that we are going to exchange some very interesting things and tools how to build a better world. And I was reading what you put there, that is building values in a world that is losing them. And it is true, because when we see around the world, we can see that the values, the old and permanent values, because they are not something that go through simple to simple things, but honesty, to be solidary with the others, to be a trustful person, they are all, and we can maintain it all forever. But in this current world, we are losing them. Then I'm very happy to talk about the power of education, and I have to be part of this G100 meeting to talk a little bit about how I envision education and how we can work on it. For sure, since all times, the power of education was known. Probably in times where there is no a lot of means of communication, and also we don't have at that time the tools that nowadays we have. But being part of a group that is perfectioning something, the idea to follow the philosophers, the teachers in different parts of the old empires, the Greek, the Roman, and the Egyptian, and others was so important. And the people that know how to write, for example, they were very famous and very well considered into the different societies, because reading and writing was a powerful thing. Then it is not strange to talk about the power of education. And I think nowadays all the people know about it. It is like an social elevator. It increases the knowledge that we have around about the world that is surrounding us, and not even what's immediately surrounding us, but also the extended world, and even the infinite, the sky, and what's in the deep of the land, and things like that. All has to be known, but by education. But when we talk about education, we are not talking only about formal education, that is having the kids and the classroom and the teacher in front, like an authority. He is an authority, of course. I strongly believe that. But it's not only that kind of traditional education. And I want to go a little bit more into what's happening nowadays, that we have different source of information and different source of education. We have to make a distinction. It's not the same information and education, of course. We can get informed about anything through the social network. So the traditional ways of communication, like journals and television, and nowadays internet and everything, it could be source of information. But the role that the teacher has is very important, especially when it's the starting the process. I talk several times about a couple that cannot be separated, the house and the school, like a binomium, like something that has to work together, because when you have a kid, the kid is socialized by the mom, the dad, and the short family. But after some years, the kid goes to school and has the teacher and has the other student. That is very important to socialize and to make them interact between the others, the pairs, not only the family, not only the teacher, but the pairs is very important. But I say that nowadays we had a lot of ways to be educated. During the pandemic times, we learned a lot about digital or virtual education. Before pandemia, of course, we had some universities or some institutions that were doing that. But after or during the pandemic times, it was necessary, it was a necessity for all the world. I used to work during the last years with UNIR, Spanish University, University International of La Rioja, and this is an institution that was born being online. This is the Internet University. And before the pandemic times, some people from other universities were very skeptical about how it works, how we can maintain quality within in a virtual session, in virtual students and virtual teachers. And it was really a fight. But during the pandemic, a lot of universities, at least in Latin America and Spain, has to go to UNIR University and talk how we are doing that and learn how we are doing that to maintain quality, because quality is a big issue when we are talking about the power of education. And nowadays, it's impossible to talk about, especially university and post-graduation education, without taking these tools that the internet, that the virtual and the digital can provide to us. That it's not only to put a Zoom platform to use that and have the teacher in one side and the students in other sides. That's not really digital education. It could be something that was done because of the necessity, the urgency to act during the pandemic, but it could not be sustainable if we don't have a preparation of the teachers, we don't have all the tools and all the helps to the students to make it more personal, not the big amount of students in one side and the teacher on the other side, to be more personal with tutors, with mentors, with different tools that universities are using. But in terms of what's happening with the school and high schools, it is a little different. You can use sometimes these tools, you can have online classes, but it's not recommended all the time because we need the social contact. Many experts in terms of mental health discovered that during the pandemic times, a lot of people had some mental diseases because of this lack of being in contact with other human beings. Even when we are talking now with the chat GPT, or we are talking about the artificial intelligence, that will be, and it's already very important for educational matters and also for scientific and the everyday life. But for sure, we need the human contact, and it has to be protected and has to be increased if it's possible to maintain the human being healthy, the mental health. Excuse me, is very important also to protect and to increase the level of contacts between human beings. Then we can have all different sources of information. We can have different ways of education. The persons in the different continents, like we are doing now, each of us in different places of the world, and we are in contact and we are talking and we are providing some information. It's very important, but it's very important also the presential. then I can say that education is continuing to be one of the most important things for states and for the human beings. States they have to provide the financial dimension, and to provide also teaching the teachers and training the teachers and the principal of schools. And of course, the parents has to be aware about how important is education. Education is not only information. Information is part of. In the past times, we need to go to encyclopedias that, like I have behind me, or we have to go to a library, or we have to talk with teachers and that. Now you can do that, but you can do it online also. You can go to the libraries, you can go to the encyclopedias by internet, and go into museums, and go to the source of information, to the laboratories, to talking with other people. But it's so important, the presence of the teacher and the principal of schools and the payers. To be aware of that is one of the things that I strongly believe that the states, the government, the ministers of education has to take care. If they don't have or don't take care about that, and think that only the tools that the science, technology, and innovation can provide, probably we are not going to have a humanized world. And talking about values, that is the other thing that is so important. They have to be transmitted by other human beings to the small, to the young people, to the kids, and to other persons. To talk about values is very transcendent in education matters. And the values, like other things, they could be learned not only but by what you are saying, but also by the example that you can provide as a human being, like a teacher, a parent, parents, father and mother, and the surrounder of the people. Then education has to be one of the things that the states, the government has to take care, as health, as security, because when we think about how the states started at the beginning, when we talk about the social contract, like Rousseau mentions, the most important things that a government or a state can do, where the nations were created, they were things about security, health, education, and also nowadays provide possibilities to have to be or to create ways to work in markets, etc. And those are the principal efforts that the states has to provide to maintain the people happy, and also growing in terms of how they can improve themselves to be better human beings. Then I will conclude saying that to build sustainable communities, we need good quality of education. Not only the education has to be extended to everybody, that it has to be, of course. The universal education is very important, but it's also very important the quality of education. And in our countries, like Latin American countries, we are having lack of quality of education. Universal education is almost get in all the countries, in most of the countries, even in the most remote places, but the quality of education is another thing. Then the power of education is very important, that we can conclude on that, and we must work in any different stage that we can do to have better quality of education. Thank you very much to hearing me. There are some ideas about what I think about education. I had the experience to have been Minister of Education of my country, and I am part of the Atlantic group. That is a group of ministers of education, of all former ministers of education of all other over the world. And we are working in several tools to advise the governments about how to work on education, especially basic and secondary education. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rosalia. Quality education, being an example, being a model for others, having the information, and all of that. That was your speech, Rosalia. You are a model, and especially I would like to highlight that you are in charge of the wing of political leadership, and someone that is in charge of political leadership. And the first things on the list is education. Is something that is really you honor to be part of She 100. Thank you so much, Rosalia. I know that you have a very busy agenda, and I think you have to leave now, isn't it?
I can stay for some other minutes, but of course, in some time, I have to leave. Thank you very much.
After this great speech, you are more than happy and grateful that you are here. So you go whenever you need it. Thank you. To get into sustainable communities, we need, as say Rosalia have said, education. Education is one of the keys, and it's one of the wins we have that is current duties on scholarship and internships. We are talking about education as a tool, in that case, as a tool for future generation. But we also need to re-educate citizens within the complicity of the private sector. And we have two global chairs, one that is pay parity and corporate transformation, how we could transform the culture from the private sector as a way to be not only more inclusive, not only equal, but also more profitable and more productive, because that is also about that, not only about equity. And also we have Sanja Popovic, we have Lucia De Luca, Global Chair of Pay Parity and Corporate Transformation, Karen Deus on scholarship and internship from the Netherlands, Sanja Popovic from Serbia, which is Global Chair of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, another key aspect for sustainable communities. United Nations have identified as a key role, they have assigned a key role to fight back poverty and unemployment, and also is a driver for women entrepreneurship. So that's all that elements, and on what is our eco-civilization revolutionary concept that we have the pleasure to have with us, Her Excellency Violeta Bulc. Thank you for being here, Violeta Bulc, and curator also of eco-civilization. You are going to be that wrap up of all these elements. And myself, my humble contribution is global networking. All of that, the unifying element of networking, on being together, on trying to have links beyond institutions, beyond friendship, this kind of not professional but not friendship. That is also social media, the healthy use of social media. And for that, we need to allow this knowledge exchange among different backgrounds of people that boost creativity, and in the end build new codes that I hope will end in what is a really ethical world. Please, if you allow me, Lucia De Luca, are you ready, Lucia?
Yes, I am, if you will. Yes.
You're always ready, Lucia.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mar, for inviting me, and hello to all the distinguished panelists. It's a pleasure to be here. Of course, coming after this inspirational speech of Dr. Rosalia Arteaga, and talking about corporation, it can sound like a punching, in the face. But I think that the reason why I'm here talking about this, Mar, is because we were chatting about it. And my role is certainly here not to defend public corporations or big companies. I think they don't need it. Plus, me, with my public background, I've worked in the public sector for a long time. I'm certainly not the best representative to talk for them. I'm here to look at what role can companies play, in particular big companies play, if we have a goal to achieve, which is that of better, more inclusive society. Okay, we should use all the arrows that that we have at disposal. So in a recent report from McKinsey and Company, after the COVID and the pandemic, they said that it's not about the office, it's about the belonging. And talking this report about the pandemic and the movement of the big resiliation, so people leaving their jobs, starting in the US and now being spread out everywhere in Europe. So this report also say that to retain employees organization needs to evolve their approach to building communities, cohesion, and a sense of belonging. And I would like to talk about this sense of belonging, because being, felt, when we feel that we belong to something, is a part of a social component of all human beings, ourselves, everybody, since the early days, and it goes even beyond being accepted in a group. So belonging in a workplace, it's the employees sense that you are unique, we are unique, that we are treasured by the organizations, we are treasured by the colleagues, that we can contribute to something. So we identify ourselves with the organizations. And if we think that despite remote working conditions, different way of conditions, working in a company, actually, some of us spend a lot of time, a lot of hours during the day, a lot of months and years in their own life. So it's even more important than whatever is said at company level. Actually, also reflects the need of the society. And I like to start with some good news and some examples, because I think, thanks also to the pandemic, thanks also to the work, and thanks also to the push of big organizations, even like G100 and many other organizations pushing for more equality, we have big corporations. And I'm mentioning some that usually are, and rightly maybe so, attacked by some group of the society. For example, I'm talking about Starbucks, I'm talking about Meta Group, I'm talking about Visa, that these big corporations have in the last 2 years achieved very much, a higher level of equality. In particular, if we look at pay parity, which is an area one of the wing I'm responsible for, there have been big achievements in this area. And so when looking at this, I would like to say, okay, what if I have to look back, what are the rules that we can draw? How can big companies, or even if we have this cascade down effect, like companies, to implement ways of working, or empower or define values that can be implemented in the workplace? Because somebody said that equality would be achieved when men and women are granted equal pay and equal respect. And this was not an economist, was Beyoncé, so a singer. And I liked, because it's a really nice way of linking, the value, the money, which is usually not foreseen as a really nice positive value, to the value of respect, which is a fundamental aspect that, if we have that, if we would have that in our society might be working a little bit better. So we know that, for example, there are a couple of, when looking at big companies, there are a couple of practices that have worked. One is, first of all, that of created this culture of equality, but starting from the top-down approach. In this, for example, we have a company which is General Motors, which has been now is number five company worldwide for equal pay. They only have a 3% gaps, which is almost nothing if you compare to huge gaps which we have in the world. And the way they've done it is they're starting with forming, with training, with educating their top management. You might say that they started in 2001, so it's a long process. That's a bad news. But you might also look at the fact that it was the first big car company, automotive company, having a female CEO, and they had a female CFO, and also they had a board of directors which was made majority made of women, for majority. Okay, but if it was possible for General Motor, which is an automotive industry, maybe this is something which can be, applied by other companies. But it was very much starting from the top, and this is also something also as a positive, as a tool we should remember. Also, the other aspect, when actually spreading and making sure that the values are defined and implemented in the company over and over, is really that of measuring and being transparent. Having the gut, sorry to use this term, of measuring how bad you're doing is not easy. But if we go back to about the desperate need of the companies to retain people, to retain staff, to then be productive and to produce. Measuring has been something that, for example, company like L'Oreal, which is a company created by men, run by men, and producing like products for women. Also, they've done, an amazing, I haven't done an amazing itinerary over time, because not only they measured, they realized how bad they were doing, but also they also start producing and making public, the results. This actually takes some courage, I have to say, but also because when you make it public, of course, then the world looks at you, and there is an urge then to improve yourself year by year. So we know that, for example, in Europe, we have a new regulation which has been approved, and all these new regulations, also political, also these regulation or national laws which push for transparencies, are also an important element into like ensuring that the value of trust is in equality and equity is actually defined and implemented throughout the companies. Also, another aspect or approach which worked in very big company is also when looking at the salary too, is not to use the past as a benchmark. So instead of saying, okay, if this person and this other person were getting this last year, what shall I do to get them equal pay? No, in some companies, and Starbucks was one of those companies that had this approach, and they start looking at the profession, say, for this job, how much should I pay? So they define the job for that, and then they apply this to women and men. And also, we're not talking about women and men, but to all employees, also those from other ethnicity or other parts of the world, or with a completely different background. So not use like previous benchmarks and previous rules, but redefining the rules when it, for example, it's about salary. That's also worked for companies, and Starbucks is certainly one of the company that goes under lots of like criticism. But when it comes to this, to the pace in equity in salary, also they've made great progress. Another element which is fundamental is that of internal training. I was at a prize which is given here in Luxembourg the other day, and I was really surprised because there were some major companies, also international companies, presented there, and they were signing the diversity chart, which is an initiative of the Luxembourgish government for the first time. So I approached one of those and I said, how come that your company is really like a multinational, as corporate, is signing the chart of diversity only now? And the person who worked in the HR department also told me, we had to go through trainings. It took us years to go from, training to the top, also to training our employees, to training women as well, who are sometimes not aware of this, the differences, and training men. So there's a lot, sort of like an internal education, which was fundamental. So this training, and this is actually, and I'm about to conclude my intervention, Mar, just to reassure you, is also a trend which is fundamental. And we have companies like that, for example, of PayPal, who made the commitment of achieving equal pay. They adjusted salaries for women, and they had also thanks to from the CEO, they changed completely the mindset about hiring, promotion, and compensation. This means that they had to do trainings in their HR department first, starting from really the basics. These are, I think that there are some rules. I wanted to share some examples about what was feasible, what has been feasible and doable, because values can be applied in big corporation, and then from the big companies, this can move to the small companies. But maybe colleagues here will bring other experience about how much, so many initiatives which are happening in small, medium enterprises that are just promoting, internal values and achieving a much better equality. But, the big ones can also pave the way from others. So hopefully that's also what I wanted to bring forward in this little talk. Mar, thanks you for your time.
Thanks to you, Lucia. Always magnificent to listen to you, to learn from you. I would just take some few aspects that I think it match with this She 100 network: the sense of belonging, the feeling unique, a new way of relating to each other, based on values like respect, like trust, even if you don't know the person, that lead into a regulation on transparency, on a strong regulation in transparency. All elements from the corporate transformation that we see how holistically we could take it for the rest of the society. I'm sure Violeta will have a say on that, on what is eco-civilization on that. If you allow me, I would like to jump. Thank you so much, Lucia, for this magnificent, open-minded speech. I would like to go, because you talk about the power of internships, no, of training their employees to have internship, and I think it's good if Karen is ready for that. I think it's great to see how we could do it with internship Lucia talked about training, but also what about internship, and also what about scholarship and education of quality, as Rosalia reminds us. Karen, you're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here today, Mar, and ladies. Thank you for taking this initiative, Mar. And I'd like to talk today about education as a key ingredient in creating a sustainable community, because I believe education is one of the most crucial foundation for community development. Community can grow intellectually, economically, and of course socially. And it provides individuals with the skills and knowledge they need to be successful and help build vital social and economic infrastructure. So education for sustainable development empowers students of all ages, I believe, with the knowledge, skills, and values and freedom of choice to address interconnected global challenges, including climate change, biodiversity, unsustainable use of resources, and inequality. It empowers students of all ages, I think, to make informed decisions and take individual and collective action to change society and care for the planet. So education for sustainable development is a lifelong learning process and an integral part of qualified education. And investing in education should be a priority for any community that takes development seriously. And one of the critical factors for successful community development is a robust educational system. A well-educated community is more likely to identify and use economic opportunities and realize positive change. Education can help break down barriers within community and promote understanding and cooperation. It helps to create a sense of community identity and shared purpose. It can also help build the skills and knowledge people need to work together to tackle common problems. So education can also play a role in developing the leadership skills needed to guide community development efforts. It can help foster understanding and cooperation among community members, and can help build bridges between different communities. And help build positive relationships between the community, the local government, businesses, and other organizations, which is very needed. Community members are willing to work together towards common goals and help people from different backgrounds to get to know each other's culture and traditions, and leading to greater understanding and cooperation. I believe a sustainable community might be more tolerant and accepting of other cultures and beliefs. I think education can also help break the circle of poverty. So education helps to create opportunities for people to learn new skills, find jobs, start businesses, and community members can take advantage of the opportunity available for them. They are able to start business, create jobs, and contribute to the overall economy of their community. It can also increase people's ability to participate in the workforce and be more productive, help create better jobs and businesses, leading to economic development. In addition, it can also help build social capital by making connection between people and organization. This can lead to better communication, coordination, which can benefit community development. And today I'd like to address the importance of vocational education, which is a major topic of our wing, because vocational education contributes to sustainable development by empowering individuals, organizations, enterprises, and communities, and fostering employment, decent work, and lifelong learning so as to promote inclusive and sustainable economic growth and competitiveness, social equality, and environmental sustainability. I think vocational education and training is an important tool for a country's social and economic progress. It offers an alternative educational path for young people and adults who want to grow professionally, while providing qualified personnel needed in all sectors of the economy. Vocational education and training has a prominent place in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Equal access to affordable, quality vocational education and training is an objective of the Sustainable Development Goals. We all know, of course, together with a commitment to significantly increase the number of young people and adults with the relevant skills for work, decent jobs, and entrepreneurship by 2030. So the VET programs, vocational education programs, will be the key to achieving both the 4th and the 8th social development goal on qualified education, on good jobs and economic growth. We all know that teachers remain the key actors in facilitating students' transitions to sustainable ways of life. In an age where information is available everywhere, and their role is undergoing great change. Teachers in all educational settings can help students understand the complex choices that sustainable development requires and motivate them to transform themselves and society. In order to guide and empower learners, teachers themselves need to be empowered and equipped with the knowledge, skills, values, and behaviors that are required for the transitions. So, to conclude, education is a powerful tool that can be used to build strong and resilient communities. It can help to promote understanding and cooperation, and can also help to establish positive relationships between the community and different groups. Education can also play a key role in promoting economic and social development. Therefore, it's clear that education plays a vital role in sustainable community development. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Always is magnificent. Yes, Violeta, please. You're muted.
Thank you. I just said that she's done a good job, like I did to Lucia and the rest. That's it. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Yes, it's magnificent. And also vocation education. We need to move further on that concept. No,
Yes.
I love the positive aspects that you highlight. The sense of community identity. You know, it's something that social media or the idea of globalization sometimes make us lose this aspect of community identity that is so important. You know why? To reassure a global world. So we need to keep that traditions in the community by educating people also to understand what means global, how they could contribute to a global world. So
Yes.
so I love this concept. Karen, thank you so very much. Violeta, I don't know if you would like to take this part of education and start, or we go back to what is corporation, what is that Sancha, and you close. What do you think is the best, Violeta?
I'll come at the end. I mean, SMEs now come because Karen was talking about them, so it's going to be a perfect timing.
I think, thank you, Violeta. Yes, Sancha Popovic, Global Chairs, SMEA Enterprises. Sancha, you have a very strong, very deep responsibility now to tell us how they could contribute to sustainable communities.
Yes, I do. First of all, hello to everybody. I'm really privileged to be today with you. And how many continents are we coming from? I think 2 or 3. I'm not sure, but from Europe, from Latin America. So this is really a great privilege to be to be today in this nice meeting that you organized, Mar. I'm so happy that Lucia also spoke about corporations, because I tended also to mention the role of corporations from another angle, from the angle of women's SMEs in the context of sustainability. But in general, I would like today to speak about the one of the three pillars of sustainability, the economic, which is informally known as profit. So the two others are planet and people. The life we live now is also known as, or named very often as transition. We are always in some kind of transition. Now it's famous as transition to economic, environmental, and social sustainability. It is recognized that this transition must be based on a strong and resilient economy. And also the SMEs are often named as a backbone of this process. But I'm also asking myself very often, where are women in this process, and what is the role of women entrepreneurs in this transition? And is there a risk to leave them behind? This question has became even more crucial in the crisis. I like to say that women's entrepreneurship is like sailing on waves. Sometimes the wave throws it high on the top, and then another comes and pulls it into the depths and throws it ashore. However, when the weather is sunny, it could be an exciting adventure, but unfortunately, the weather hasn't been so nice in recent years, and sustainability of women's businesses seems to be in the permanent risk. I have just completed the study in Serbia about the innovativeness of female businesses, and you know what? Half of the respondents offer only one product to only one client. And you can imagine how much this is risky for their sustainability. I'm also wondering very often why women are not able to find the exit strategy from this vicious circle. And I call it the triple vicious circle. First, the lack of the finance. Women has permanent lack and weak access to the finance because they can't very often, and globally in many communities, they can't provide the collateral due to the lack of property ownership. And it is one vicious circle. Also, financial instruments are not often diversified in order to match the needs of micro and small enterprises. They are mostly created to serve the big corporations and their interests. But women, unfortunately, prevailed among micro and small enterprises. And this is a second vicious circle. Then also, because they are small, they can't absorb significant amounts of financial resources which are available. Very often, women entrepreneurs, and generally, we can hear that money is everywhere. Money is not a problem. But in order to get that funds, the criteria are often very high posted, and then they can't actually get the funds because they are small. They are refused from many tenders because of their size. Speaking about the size of companies, there is another vicious circle in accessing the market, in accessing the big supply chains. Bigger companies with the growing potential and high profitability could access supply chains that are demanding in the sense of the quantities and quality of the products, which is almost an insurmountable obstacle for most women's businesses, which are micro and small. Slightly better position is for female companies in the ICT sector, but there are a broad range of the sectors in which women entrepreneurs could are not able to access big market players. What could be the solution actually? Definitely, when doing a sustainability check in the economy, then it would be necessary to check to what extent large companies include women entrepreneurs in their supply chains, and in what extent creators of the economic policies ensure the balanced share of women in getting funds for growing their businesses. In order to be also nice to corporates, not only to criticize them, I would say that that's true that they did a great job when it is about implement internal improvement of women and their promotion to the managerial level. For example, we in Serbia have one award that we deliver to the most gender sensitive big company, and the criteria rely on the UN Women 5 principles to empower women. And almost first 5 principles are related to the empowerment of women internally within the corporations. But when we come to the 5th principle, which relates to the involvement of women in supply chains, almost no one is performing excellent. Some are better, and we then award more points to them, and we evaluate more this principle than the others, because almost all companies have internal procedures how to promote women into the managerial positions. But when this awareness among big companies how to involve women entrepreneurs into the ecosystem, into their supply chains, they are not performing very well. And this is really challenging because if you do not permanently provide to women a chance to be part of this bigger ecosystem, then you left them behind, and then they are really in this, let's say their destiny is to be micro and small, even if they want to grow. Regarding gender equality, the world is not on the right track, and the time to act and invest in women and girls is now. Women entrepreneurship could be leveraged to achieve better balance in the economy by providing better access to market and finance. And also, if you allow me just to present and share with you one very nice example of the role of the performance in the economy when the women are prevailing among the employees, then I would share the finding from the study did by European Innovation Technology Manufacturing Organization. And it is actually said that profitable firm at which 30% of leaders are women could expect to add more than 1 percentage point to its net margin compared with an otherwise similar firm with no female leaders. But still, gender stereotypes keep women away from the economic mainstream. And I think that our network could change it, and I'm sure that Lucia and I at least could make some good proposals to change this landscape. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for always have this informative, deep, and full of knowledge. Women are not part of the ecosystem. It sounds familiar, isn't it, Violeta? Is that you're coming? Are not part of the ecosystem, and the destiny is to be, as you say, micro and small enterprises instead of growing. You know, so that is also, I think, it is. I don't know what the rest think, especially Lucia. De Luca, no, that is really very important, because if they keep on micro and small, the capacity not to be more powerful than men, it's just to grow, to contribute to productivity, and to keep growing and helping the global society. Thank you, Sanja, because you make myself, but I'm sure all of you have many questions. Thank you for that insightful speech. Lucia, just a little bit. Karen, I don't know if you would like to say something related to Sanja, and then we pass very, very fast to our patient and Violeta. Lucia, yes, in relation to that,
As Sanja said, there are many interesting points. I think for me, always the big question is about what moves, somebody in doing something. How can an SME, do something different? How can they look at this? Usually, and I always go back. Do you need to be forced, or you need to be inspired? And I know that the tendency is to be, to be maybe forced, because that's why we do have regulation. That's why we know that regulation have played a key role, in setting the pace and the tone. Is absolutely true. But then you have, when you live in a reality like this in our continent, when actually you have the European directive that needs to be implemented at national level, which is going to take 3 years, and in 3 years we're going to be like even far away. So at the same time, I think is always a nice combination between. That's why I was talking about big companies, but I think that sometimes the big change comes from small companies. I know that in some countries, I'm more near to countries like Italy because I'm Italian, and you have sometimes super small employers with like maybe 10 people, but have decided, for example, they do a long-term contract when woman becomes pregnant, or they implement facilities. They go much further than what the country or the state is suggesting. So that's why I think that I like to believe and to hope that the eco-civilization is such a movement, that would really inspire this, because ultimately even companies, there are men at the end, if men and women, sorry, they're human beings. So if you as a human being, you have been touched or inspired by something, by knowing what your colleagues has done, your peer CEO has done, or by listening to a speech about how you can do better at the same time still make money, because an enterprise is there to make money. And I think so maybe also some inspirational speeches are important. So I don't have the answers, Mara, I'm really sorry about this, and I think if I had the answers I wouldn't be here, but I do think it's a combination of both, and that's why it's important that there are communities like ours, and that we keep on pushing the boundaries, whether like the legal boundaries, but also the societal boundaries. And that's why movements like the eco-civilization, which looks, sometimes when I hear like Violeta, I'm really taken to the stars. I say, yes, that's the world I want to live in. But how do I get some of these words into the guy who's managing 10 people? But and that's where actually the magic happens, in my opinion.
I always like to say, Lucia, you say pushing for changes, and I say yes, pushing for changes, not be pushed by the changes, and that's what is happening. That the crises are pushing us in the wrong direction many times. I always, with global networking, say that I am proud to be in global networking. I say that we are the unifying element. But I lied to you all this time. Women entrepreneurs in education, vocation education, transformational corporation, that is eco-civilization. So the unifying element is Violeta Bulc, Her Excellency Violeta Bulc, Curator of Eco-Civilization, Global Chair of Eco-Civilization, former Vice Prime Minister of Slovenia, and former Commissioner for Transport, the European Commission. Thank you, Violeta. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you for accepting this friendly way that is part of our platform, the code of trust, as that we have referred before. Thank you for being here.
Dear Mar, thank you very much for having me. I would just join Taina, who just made an excellent comment before. And she said, yeah, it was a real pleasure listening to all of you. You were very concrete. You were very down to earth, from some sort of political framework to corporate to educational, in the sense of young generations and vocational education, and eventually to SMEs, which are really the drivers of change at the edge of no one. I will be a little bit more philosophical, and thank you, Luca, that you already have prompted audience for that, just because I'd like to put everything into a systemic view. I think what is happening right now is really very inspiring around us, and I'd like to bring, oops, this one is not the right one. I cannot show what is at the back, and then I will just speak. Don't worry, I don't need to show. It shows the old one. Maybe you have loaded it up, Mar, from the old presentation.
No.
Okay, but then let me just speak. It's okay. So what I'd like to use this opportunity for is just to prompt everyone that there are huge cycles happening around us. And if nothing else, what happened is that we humans, of course, made a lot of impact on this Earth ecosystem. And interfered with so-called Nature One, which is the authentic Earth ecosystem, quite a bit, especially through creation of two human-made type of global communities, which is urban communities, could be cities or villages, and in the last 80 years, let's say virtual communities, virtual ecosystems, and all these three now coexist. And because humans are part of nature, all these we are invited to consider as nature. So Nature One, Nature Two, and Nature Three. And I often wonder, are we aware of that? Somehow we're trying to separate this, and that is causing lots of challenges, even in the implementation of sustainable strategies and sustainable communities. So this global view is actually manifested in every single community, no matter what type. Is it geographical, or is it content driven, or is it political, or is it just educational system, basically functional? But everywhere these three are interfering and intertwining as well. So instead of separating them, can we take a look at them as one? And then sustainability will become business as usual, will become the most natural flow of the force of life. And we will not need to wonder. So that's my first invitation to everyone. So bringing all this Nature 1, 2, and 3 into a balance. But saying that, there is a huge invitation out there to bring local, authentic knowledge and wisdoms to global level and create the pool of diversity, really to expand awareness about all our incredible capacities that you all mentioned that we are developing through different subsystems. And based on this pool of diversity, just follow the known mathematical formula that sum is always bigger than the sum of individual parts. So local communities play an incredible role in creating a sustainable global community awareness. But at the same time, they are also learning from a greater value that gets created through that. That's why this global and local are constantly dancing and bringing together a new awareness and a new also consciousness on a level of not only humans, but beings altogether that live on this beautiful planet Earth. So creating global perspectives, and global perspectives, we need to understand the diversity of local authenticity. So only through that we can understand planetary interdependencies. And only by then we can then imagine, dream together about new planetary vision, to engage and join and jointly coexist in the spirit of sustainability and in fine collaboration. Are you with me on that one? Just in order to really empower who we are and what we are here for. Somehow I think we lost trust in ourselves, and that's why we started to compare ourselves with technology, and even started to dream about transhumanism and creation of a new techno civilization that will make humans unnecessary. And but I think that is just because we are lacking this collective support on a global level to really see the incredible capacities that we have not developed yet. And that global communities can help us to realize that, because they contain the strength and wisdom and knowledge of all local communities. And that's where we can then start dancing and delivering actual value on the ground, which can only be created in local communities. And just to make it a very concrete, there are three trends, three economies that are emerging on a global scale, but based on the local knowledge and wisdoms. And they are all trying to show us the path forward in order to transform ourselves in a sustainable community, in a sustainable global community or sustainable planet. Each of them has its weaknesses. Unfortunately, today, they are still competing with each other, trying to prove that only one is right. But I'm inviting you that we recognize that all three are needed, all three have weaknesses, and only together they can lead the way, probably with emerging new ideas, to show us how we can create and distribute value in a much more sustainable manner, because that's what economy is all about. And what I'm talking about, first one is circular economy concept, which is it leads us greatly towards a sustainable planet. The second one is a regenerative economy, which finally is bringing forward our responsibility towards soil, water, air, and the way how we can regenerate and bring the fresh and authentic energy back to these life-driven forces that we have, that the planet Earth is providing us with in order for us to sustain on this planet. And last but not least, economy of limited resources, or many of you probably know it as a donut economy. And each of them has weaknesses, but once you put them together, they are a marvelous tool and pathways towards the long-term sustainable evolution. So I'm inviting everyone to have open discussions. And now imagine that all education, formal education, vocational education, SMEs, we actually invite them to walk the path with us, even including corporate life, corporate ecosystems, towards this emerging new world with one very strong motivating goal, our existence. And ask ourselves, how much do we need to change how much we need to change, not only in our behavior, but also in the content that we're studying, in the way how we manifest our ideas, and the way how we, of course, create value, but even more importantly, how do we distribute the value, which currently is the biggest challenge, as we know, and with the growing poverty, the disparity, and growing challenges in the world, we see that we have huge opportunity here for coming back to a really sustainable and manageable path. So what is my proposition to you? To really try to follow one important act that even happened on the level of United Nations, with ESG proposal, which says that we need to bring environmental responsibility, social equity, and economic prosperity together. And I shared with you possible paths, but being open for the emergence of new. which is happening right now as we speak. And instead of trying to constantly grab for something that already exists, can we trust each other to tap into the emergence and learn from life itself and constantly improve what we create? And that's where artificial intelligence cannot meet us, because artificial intelligence always look at the past. It's always a moment behind. But human creativity and relationships, which are on the most basic level, even on a level of physics, the ones that drive life and drive actually the balance on not only on planet Earth, but on the entire universe. That is a huge opportunity. Can we build such environments where trust leads us, that we learn and deliver and create out of the emergence? I think that we can. I mean, at least we are building these circles now. And within eco-civilization movement, this is a constant energy, constant vibe that we try to tap into and learn what it means to coexist in the world of emergence. And through that, then we will finally start delivering sincere, sustainable practices. And of course, they will contain elements of tasks that my colleagues have so brilliantly addressed, because they're all important, but in the spirit of sustainability and emergence. So I think we all are called, they're deeply in ourselves. We can hear the call to foster a sense of community, because that's who we are. We are relationship-based beings, and we need relationship, and the core essence of community is a quality relationship. So that is the tool, powerful tool for better quality of life, and also for to really minimize the ecological footprint and the negative effects that our behavior cause to nature one, which we call our mother, really, and where we all came from. So basically, as I said, in order to really follow this path, we need to reinvent the rules too. And I'll share you, eco-civilization community is a global community. So we try to define the really simple rules based on which we work and engage. And there are really 3 simple rules, which you have heard today already. So they're nothing new, but they're so powerful. Transparency, 100% transparency. Whatever it's created is always shared. No secrecy, no hiding the knowledge, no hiding the wisdom, no hiding the documents. Everything is shared out in the open, and you can see it on the webpage. The second one is that we ask everyone who joins us, do what it feels right. Listen to your heart, listen to your intuition, listen to your spirit. What are they telling you? The inner strength that you have. And start trusting it. Because we really, deep inside ourselves, always know what is the right thing to do. And the third one is connect. Keep connecting. Do not allow anyone to be isolated and left behind. Very 3 simple rules of a global community. So I hope that this kind of inspired a few sparkles in your eyes and in your minds. And I'm looking forward to future engagement with those that are interested in working together.
Thank you so much, Violeta. It's always so inspiring. I'm sure all of the Lucia, Karen, and Sanja will agree with me. The capacity that you have, and not only the concept of eco-civilization, but the way you address it, because you go for what is individual challenge and the way to change behavior and to trust on others. You go to what is the political aspects. So that is a masterpiece of how we could address change. Global views, you say, a global view is manifested in any local community. How important is that, to see that and to see how we could change that, and also how the local could contribute to the global. Violeta, this is amazing. I don't want to add more, just to repeat what you say, because this is the way to close this session. But please, Sancha, Lucia, and Karen, please, your contribution in relation to amazing, as usual, speech from Violeta Bulc. Lucia.
I have a question. I know that we are 10 minutes later, so I think you want to wrap up as up. I was supposed to leave before, but it was so interesting that I told my guests, wait, I have something important to listen to. So they're there. But so actually, of course, how can you not agree with what, Violeta said, not only because Violeta is Violeta, because she's saying something that makes sense. So really, two good reasons. But I think that, what I like is actually something which I've been hearing a little bit later, and also looking at something that, comment that somebody watching us from India is putting up, is that, so you said that we lost us, and indeed we lost us in technology. So and don't get me wrong, technology is what is going to save our life, absolutely, but it makes it super easy and too easy for us to get lost in it. So so to perform all the actions which you have said, which I fully agreed, and to agree with, and to avoid that we get lost into technology, which is making the world so small but also so wide, so that's so big that we get lost. So how, we used to, what is the connector? I think how are we connecting all this, Violeta? It's a big question. And when you answer this, there's this comment from that put Arti from India said, because you were talking, maybe you didn't see it, but she said, social intelligence will always be greater than artificial intelligence, because we as a social human beings, we can revisit our intent. And so ChatGPT is not there yet. He's trying, to revisit our intent, but not there yet. But what I'm missing, what actually I would like to maybe the topic for another conversation, Mar, is really to say, okay, how can we connect all these elements, Violeta? Who is going to act as a connector of the connector?
Well, first of all, I fully agree with what Arti said, because we need to be aware of the qualities of human beings. We create future. Artificial intelligence and technology is learning from us and is always a step behind. Don't get me wrong, I'm a computer engineer by profession. Technology can do many tasks humans can process enormous amount of data in a very short period of time with a very focused tasks. It has physical abilities that humans don't have, but it is a technology. And I'm inviting everyone, let's stop giving human face and human characteristics to technology. It's a tool, it's not a goal. Okay, so we gotta be open-minded and learn together. I just challenged in the last 2 days, there were so many articles published on artificial intelligence, and I kept challenging them. I said, why are we giving up on ourselves? Why are we just giving up the beauty of human beings? And we created tools. Why? In order to destroy us or in order to help us? Where are the legislations? Even Isaac Asimov, way back in the history, created 3 basic rules of robotics. He was very clear what the technology has to follow. Can we just add a couple of additional ones in legislation and really make sure that we know that the technology, no matter how sophisticated, consists of dead materials and program and data? And there is an app that human being has written. Yes, maybe tomorrow and even today, some technology can already write a code, but that technology was created by some people. So I would have a rule in the future that there always has to be a button that you can switch on and off for any kind of technology. Let's talk about that. It's a great discussion. We can talk the whole night about it, because it's so much in the public face right now, especially with the latest permission of US when the government gave permission for this brain link to Musk to develop in order to have a direct communication between human and computer. And I think without legislations, this is really a very how should I say, an irresponsible move. Yeah. We gotta take responsibility for what we create, and we gotta have really good public discussions about that and create rules. Like, you know, it's not allowed to kill people on the street anymore. And in some countries, they're very successful in implementation of those rules. And people know that that's not allowed, and it's not allowed to spit through the window or you know, just do whatever you feel like it in the communities that are created. So we do know how to behave, but we got to talk.
Karen or Sanja? No? Karen, do you have questions, Karen, or comments? Yeah.
No, thank you. I will reflect on this amazing speech and contribution. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Sanja?
I would agree with Violetta about the consideration of technology as a tool and not giving the attributes of human beings to the technology. I like this point very much, and I can say that I share it, and even more, I would say that we have the chance to use this technology to serve our needs. And stands the same for our streams to make our society more gender mainstreamed. Because this is another probably topic, but standardization could be, which is a very important part of technological development, could be very powerful tool for bringing more gender-sensitive strategies into the mainstream, and we should use this chance. So let us use these advantages of the technologies in favor to more gender equal societies and economies.
Mm. Indeed. Yes, Sonia, fully agree.
Ladies, we're coming to an end. No, Violetta, do you like to? Okay, we have achieved the goal. I don't know if we really contribute to sustainable communities, but we have contributed to our community of She100 Network, knowledge exchange, info exchange, and perspective, and the idea of being together to building trust. And we are trying to be a model for others, to replicate our model of being together from the civil society. That is the first aspect to take into account. Thank you so much, ladies, for your generosity, for your time and your wisdom. See you very soon in Madrid.
Yeah. See you. Thanks a lot, Mark. All the best.
Bye. See you.
And thank you, everyone who shared this time with us through social
Yes,
media.
thank you. Also from far away. Bye.
See
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Mar, for organizing it.